there are people that are looking for you, but they can't find you if you're trying to be someone else.
All right, so welcome to the April 15th, 2026 Midweek Tune-Up, your quick midweek calibration for new construction real estate mindset and real estate marketing momentum every Wednesday at 1:30. I am Damon Green and he is.
I'm Nathaniel Crawford.
All right, cool. So we're just going to dive straight in. So if you're interested in catching this replay, the archives of previous episodes, value packed episodes, and resources, you can listen to them over at theiconic.com/tune-up. You also get some resources, downloads, and show notes from the existing episode, this one and the others that we've done, and future episodes. Also, yesterday we had an AMA once a month. We do an AMA. What is an AMA? An AMA is a live only insiders get the recordings, but it's the opportunity to ask questions, share information. Had a great 2-hour session yesterday. Zero gatekeeping, which surprises the hell out of people. But you ask the question, we just go in and we tell you what we can. Other folks will come in and chime in. So that was yesterday. If you want access to the insider is all of the resources and tools we'll talk about on here. We're giving you what to do. You want to know how to do it, you want to be on the insider. Bunch of benefits. We're about to do a case study with one of the insiders. He mentioned he had a $250 a month marketing budget. I went against the grain of what I usually say. Don't run Google ads. Run Facebook ads, but don't run Facebook ads regularly. So we're going to walk through that. We talked about it in depth yesterday, and we'll be going through a specific, it's probably going to be about a 3-session case study, which you can follow along and implement along as well. So head on over to theiconic.com/insider. Until Friday, you have a $10 off discount. It's normally $47 a month. You can get it for $37 a month over at theiconic.com/insider until Friday. Also, if you have questions, you've got 2 options. This is a one-way conversation, so you can join next week's AMA at 6 p.m. Eastern free, or you can join live only. It's the AMA coaching session we just mentioned about, or if you ask in the insider, if you have any questions, what's going on here, ask them over in the insider. You get 24/7 access to us, answer questions. There's coaching in there, case studies, training, resources, and tools. This is our way to give back. And we don't gatekeep here, but that's really, we just open Pandora's box to help the agents that need the help. So today we are going to discuss yesterday's AMA recap really quick, how to find your niche and how to get started in a new construction niche so you can clear the confusion and really get going. So I will stop sharing for now, get on camera, and here we go. So yesterday we did have the monthly AMA. Now, what is an AMA? It's an Ask Me Anything. Nate, myself, we had a couple other folks. See, Chris is here. He was on. We had about a dozen to 2 dozen, depending on time frame, agents on listening, sharing, asking questions, and we just all were answering questions and helping marketing, real estate related, the whole nine. Nate even had some people take it offline. He talked offline with a couple folks. So it's the one day that we just offer what we do for absolutely free, and you have access to us, no gatekeep. Yesterday, we had Chris, who happens to be on, talked about what we call the sloppy success model, and he had leveraged that and got results. So we walked through that. We walked through yesterday, Nate, one of our clients, and an agent out on the East Coast of Florida, had a broker's open. And Nate was like, oh man, I almost forgot to go. Nate, tell them what that was about. Like, you're trying to even get in.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. She had a wonderful turnout from using some of the strategies that we talk about, with Eventbrite, some of the other stuff. I'm pretty sure that's going to result in some kind of traction. There are probably some offers or something like that. But it was a really good turnout. Met some good agents. Made some good connections. Had some good conversations.
Yes, and one of the gentlemen that helped with that, he gave away the strategy. I had him to tell exactly what he did. He outlined that. You can access that on the replay of the Insider. The replay of the AMA yesterday, which will be live tomorrow on the Insider. We also mentioned there was a new agent, and they asked, where do I start? Like, I want to do this. There's all this. They had information overload. So we discussed that, which is what we're going to dive deeper into. How to sell luxury. That question came up a couple times. Nate and I went into how do you sell luxury? You just do it. We explain the process. It's the same thing we've been saying. We explain the process there. And we also talked about how to create a podcast and the importance of having a podcast, especially nowadays. Um, so we walked through that real quick. So that's a quick recap of yesterday. Again, it's over at the Insider. You'll get the replay. It'll be live tomorrow. So today, what we want to talk about is to the confused agents that have information overwhelmed. There is literally a bunch of ways we can make money. There's a bunch of niches in real estate. Our focus is new construction, luxury, and luxury new construction. So the agent asked the question, well, she made a couple statements. They said, like, where do I start? I'm not really sure. There's all this stuff. You know, you guys are giving great information. I see information over here. But she was just going on. We kind of let it go on for about 2 minutes and then backed it up. And I'll tell you exactly what I told her. But first thing, for any agents that's in that boat where they're not really clear, they're not sure, clarity is key. You have to get clear on what you want. But the main question is, this is what I asked her as she went through it. Like, she's going through it, kind of frazzled. And I stopped and asked her, and I said, what do you want? And she stopped and paused and was like, I don't, that's the thing. A lot of people don't know what they want. So number one, to niche down, what do you want? You have to get clear on that. Nate, let's dive into that a little bit. The what do you want? Because when we ask that question, people are like, they just kind of like freeze up and not really sure.
Yeah, well, I think that some of that's peer pressure, right? If you don't know where you want to go, any road will get you there. And coming into real estate, it can be very easy to get peer pressured into something that everybody else likes to do. So luxury is really, really sexy. And there are a lot of people who say they want to sell luxury when they really don't want to sell luxury. They want to sell middle market real estate because they don't like being around, big houses and rich people and all the other stuff, right? That's just not their thing. They're not
There's nothing wrong
accustomed
with
to that. Yeah, but that's a thing though. So if the environment that you're in makes you feel some type of way about, well, I just want to sell $300,000 houses. I want to sell people houses like the homes I grew up in my neighborhood. If that's what you want to do, you have to be comfortable with that one, but be comfortable enough to defend that when you're in rooms with other people, right? I have very good friends who only sell to veterans. Why? Because they're passionate about the military. So if you're not a veteran, they don't want to work with you. It's not that that's, they look down on other people. They refer that stuff to other people. That's their place of being passionate, and that's what they want. But that's a thing that they are able to identify. A lot of times when agents come into the business, they don't take that time and just sort of sit and say, well, what do I want to do? Because once you're clear with what you want to do, whether that's doing fix and flips or selling floor closures or selling middle market housing or selling pre-construction or luxury, once you're clear on that, then everything else becomes easy. But it can be kind of hard, especially depending on what else you got going on mentally or your life. Stuff can be challenging. It can be hard to just get the clarity on, well, man, what do I like? What do I want to do? But once you have that, then that becomes your North Star, and you can sort of measure everything else you're going to do against that. But you got to sit with it. You got to sit with it and say, do I really like selling this, or am I selling this because all the people around me are telling me this? There are people who make millions of dollars a year selling real estate, and everything they sell is under $500,000. So selling luxury real estate is not the only way for you to become a successful real estate agent. So the way you become a successful real estate agent is figuring out where you want to sell and then dominating that market, not the other way around. But that requires you to be really, really clear on what you want to do. If your favorite color is purple, it needs to be purple, whether you're in a green room, a blue room, a black room, an orange room, and you got to be comfortable defending your favorite color. If you're not there yet, that's the first step. The first step is understanding who you are, what you want to do, and then you go from there.
And you mentioned something that really hit was comfortable. So there's a story. I guess tell them real quick because we get this all the time. Like, okay, I'm going out, and you used to be suited and booted, and you switched that up. Explain that because you get a lot of agents to come in, and this is tied into the comfort. Then I have the Ferrari story that we'll cover real quick because that was interesting how you position that. But you thought you had to wear a suit and now you wear colorful shirts. Kind of walk through that and people that feel they have to fit in a certain way versus just being themselves. Just cover that because that also ties
Yeah.
into what do you want?
Yeah, yeah. Well, when I first got into real estate, and I learned how to sell luxury real estate, right? So I came into the luxury market, but my assumption, which is exactly what it was, my assumption was that I had to show up in a suit and tie every day because that was just what I thought luxury agents did. So what did I do? I showed up in a suit and tie every day, and I was incredibly uncomfortable. I tell people all the time, if you Google me, you'll see a whole bunch of pictures of me in suits and ties, and I look really, really, really uncomfortable. But over time, what happened is I got more comfortable selling the real estate and more comfortable in the spaces. So what happened? I stopped wearing a tie. So then I just was wearing a suit with no tie, and then I stopped wearing a suit jacket. And I was like, well, I just want to be comfortable. And what I realized was as I became more comfortable, the clients I attracted were comfortable too. They were attracted to my level of comfort, right? If I had started being me and been comfortable way earlier in my career, I probably would have made way more money. You know, the thing that I tell agents all the time is there are people that are looking for you, but they can't find you if you're trying to be someone else. So you got to just be you. And that in the beginning, you being you can be incredibly uncomfortable because you are one of one. So that means every room you go in, you're going to be the only one there. You know, and for me, obviously, we all are familiar with the lack of diversity in luxury real estate. So I was already just the one of one in the room most of the time. So becoming the one of one with the colorful shirt on made it that much more awkward sometimes. But the other side of that was I'm comfortable, and my comfort helps other people to be comfortable, which then helps clients that are comfortable, helps agents we mentor be comfortable. But you got to get to the point where you are comfortable, and the faster you get there, the faster that then reflects in how you do business. It reflects in how you talk in rooms. It reflects in the content you create. All of those things, you being comfortable in your skin, talking about things you're passionate about, talking about things you enjoy doing is what resonates with people. People will hear your marketing, they'll see all the print stuff, but when they meet you, they meet you. And if you are comfortable in your skin, they feel that. You know, it's kind of like when somebody tells you should smile when you answer the phone. You know, you say hello, and you can tell if someone's smiling when they answer the phone versus when they're not. The same thing is true of us as professionals. When you're working with somebody, all of us have had service from somebody who didn't like their job, whether it was at a restaurant or getting your car done. Everyone has worked with somebody somewhere that did whatever you paid them to do, but they clearly did not want to be doing it. Well, nobody wants to work with a real estate agent like that. So our goal, if you're supposed to be a real estate agent, because some people ain't supposed to be agents, and that's a whole nother story. But if you believe that this is where you're supposed to be, and helping people make some of the largest transactions of their lives is part of your purpose, then you got to be comfortable sort of standing in that and owning your version of this profession, not the version that somebody else is sort of trying to impose on you.
Yeah, so there was a story, and part of that being comfortable part. This is called the Midweek Tune-Up, and I was in a coaching session because if your coach doesn't have a coach, you should probably fire them. But I was in a coaching session with in Atlanta with a gentleman around. They were talking about communities and the whole nine. But anyway, one of the things he mentioned was kind of bring out your personality. And one of the things, like, I'm a car dude, which is why this is called the Midweek Tune-Up, and there's a picture of a 911 on there. So I'm a car dude. So a couple years back, Nate and I were in Fort Lauderdale, and we're driving around. I kept seeing these Ferraris, and we kept passing Fort Lauderdale Ferraris. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just walk up in there. Let's just go in there. Now, mind you, we went in there and they completely ignored us, which was fine because I wasn't buying anything at the time, and we were just walking through. But Nate was having his car serviced there. So we just walked in and we almost closed, and that could be why they ignored us. We're just walking around. So they looks like the staff wanted to go home. So we're just walking around, looking around. And there was a Cullen in there, there's a GT3. And then I turn around, like we're just casually looking. I'm just like, okay, maybe Ferrari will be something we'll add to the collection. I don't know. Let's just see what's in here. Knew nothing really about Ferrari. Well, I'm talking to a buddy of ours, and I turn around, and Nate is standing there with his legs crossed and his hand on this car. And I saw him, I was like, okay. And then I turned around, was looking, and he's still standing there. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Because it was awkward. I'm like, what? Are you all right? And what ended up happening was Nate was like, I'm good. So what are you doing? He said, how many people do you know can say they touched a $2 million car? And I was like, true. And that's just like real estate. Like that scares people. This is a Porsche Carrera GT. It's a $2 million car. And I was like, oh, and we were started talking about how a lot of agents are afraid or not comfortable going into like luxury spaces. So if that's not your thing and you want it to be, you got to get comfortable doing that. Just like I had to get comfortable walking into the Ferrari dealer with Ferrari and Porsche, they're way different. Like just the environments are different. Um, but either way, you got to get comfortable in that. So that was just interesting that story because um, first of all, I was like, what are you doing? But then it's like, okay, you have to be comfortable with it. He was fine with that. Like we walked in there, we were comfortable in there. But that's a big thing when you talk about luxury or expensive stuff. People kind of get scared and think, oh, these people are jerks. And we can tell you from experience, we have clients that are doing very well for themselves, and you'd have no idea unless you like see their lifestyle. It's like, oh, they're actually just people like you. So anyway, that was that. So the last thing is with that, with the clarity, you want to number one, you don't have to wait. So if you want to sell luxury, you can do it right now. Just pick the intention, go do it. But you also want to define the area that you want to work in. So one of the things you have to realize is who do you want to work with, like we mentioned, what area do you want to work in, and then think about what resonates with you. Like, are they business owners? Are they empty nesters? Are they young families? Like, what is it? So, for instance, with me, I'm an empty nester. We got all baby adults. Two of them getting married this year. So we're empty nesters, lock and leave, townhome, luxury townhomes. That's my bag. You're a car guy, you like luxury goods, the whole line. That's my bag. I can deal with you. That's where I kind of lay my hat, work with other folks, but that's kind of where I lay my hat because that's the life that we live. Same with Nate. Nate works with, private equity and family offices and folks that are certain caliber. We'll work with everybody, but we've got our niches within, new construction. So once you determine that, the main thing you want to know is, okay, if your person is a business owner or let's say a young family, okay, well, what does the young family need? What interests them? The next thing is knowing your ideal client persona. We call it ideal client avatar or persona. Avatar confuses the hell out of people. So your ideal client persona, and in order to get a traditional ideal client persona and a marketing part and do it, it's going to cost you about $5,000. Before AI existed, it would still cost you that. But if you know what you're doing, and we have a 3-step process in the Insider that walks you through this, but it will tell you who is buying, why they buy. And this is what you want to know. You want to know who's buying, why they're buying, what makes them tick, what are their wants, desires, what's the lifestyle they live. And you want to create your content around the avatar. So if you know who you're speaking to, one, pick who you want to talk to. Find out all you can about them and create content around them. And that is how you create content that resonates. Nate, you want to chime into that? Because we've been doing a lot of stuff with this lately.
Yeah. Well, I think that is sort of born out of having clarity on where you want to be. Okay, so once you know this is what I want to sell, there is a high likelihood that you are familiar with someone who's in that space, right? So then that kind of informs when you create that avatar, you'll know some of those things that'll be familiar to you because you'll be able to say, oh yeah, he does that, or does that, or they do that, like that type of thing. So you're clear on that, and then that prevents you from ever having writer's block when it comes to creating content, right? Because one, you're in the space that you want to be in, but two, now you know exactly
you're talking. Yep. So
I had a call there. So you know exactly who you're talking to. So if you know who you're talking to, you have clarity on who you're talking to, you're doing it in a place that you want to do. That means you have an endless amount of content that you can create because you're clear on what you want to do, where you want to do it, and who you do it for. And that consistency of who you're doing it for is what's going to resonate the most because the other two pieces of that are in line. And AI can then allow you to take that, whatever product, whatever service, whatever content, strategy you want to put to work to, and make sure that you're speaking to those people in as most a direct way as possible.
Yep, exactly. So, and Nate really just covered it as far as when you know who you're talking to, your content is no longer surface. So you're not like, okay, 3-bedroom, 2-bath with amenities, close to downtown and shopping. That's what the average agent does. You can go in depth because you know what your ideal client wants to hear, what makes them tick, but you have to be able to identify them. So I'm going to give you an example, and Nate, we're going to kind of do a back and forth here. So we have, and we've done this, we have an ideal client persona for Wynwood, Miami, for a specific project that Nate was working on. Now, this Diego, we'll call him Diego, that's because we give our avatar a name or persona name. Diego is a serial entrepreneur. He's fully remote. He likes to connect internationally with business and with international business partners. Again, we're talking about Miami. And he wants his home base to impress his clients when he, entertains and brings them through. So knowing that, what would be some content? This is for Frida. So knowing this, what types of content would you put out, or have you put out, and can you put out, knowing that's just a small snippet of what we know about the ideal buyer at Frida?
Yeah. Well, you're focusing on the overlap between lifestyle and profession, right? So you're entertaining clients, you're entertaining international clients. So you're entertaining international clients in South Florida. So we're talking about restaurants, we're talking about art galleries, we're talking about proximity to the airport, we're talking about proximity to tourist attractions, especially if you're talking about clients. So those are videos that are highlighting the things to do in Miami, things for owners to do in Miami, things to do with your property when you're not in town, if you're an international type of buyer and you're leaving town. So these all speak to the international, hey, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to use it so it makes me money, but I'm also remote, so I might not be here all year round.
Okay, and a little more, they want access, Diego wants access to Miami's tech ecosystem, and he also values authentic experiences over possessions, as well as he values cultural richness. How would you address, knowing that about your ideal client persona, how would you address those?
Well, then you would be focusing on an area of town that's not the financial district. So that's not the financial district, that's not the finance district, because neither one of those areas are traditionally rich in culture, right? So you would be focused on the arts district because that's culture, that's nightlife. That the arts district in most cities tends to have the best restaurants. When you talk about local food culture, stuff like that. So you'd be really, really dialing in on, hey, this is where the life is in this particular community. This is what we're doing here. So that's creating content around arts, culture, foodie stuff are the things that would speak to that part of the avatar.
All right. And then we won't go into this, but also imagine if you had an idea of what your ideal client's day look like and how you can simply drop in between the day and knowledge. That's the advantage of having the ideal client persona, knowing how to build that and having that set up. And again, if you go over to the iconicagent.com/insider, we'll give that to you. There's a 3-step process, takes probably about 30 minutes to do, but it's a game changer, especially if you're leveraging any type of AI. And the other thing is, once you know your avatar, so for instance, Diego is a serial entrepreneur, works from home, fully remote. What floor plans would adapt to Diego's lifestyle? Now, at this specific property, they get a deeded office with the condo. So we would go into that. But if you think about, say, an empty nester, and they have kids that have grandkids, and the grandbabies come by, then okay, it's an open floor plan or maybe a yard. Like, by looking at the floor plans, you'll be able to tell the story to them, because we talked about stories back, I think it was like episode 4 or 5. You can tell the story and get them in through story. Like, imagine, out here and the grandbabies are swinging on the swings, watching the gators in the lake and whatever. But when you know this, it's very easy to create the content. And then one of the last pieces we'll talk about today, because we're just at the top of the hour, is once you have your ideal client persona, you'll also get a breakdown of media consumption. So a millennial consumes media and is in places that are way different than a boomer or whatever generation I am. So you can see where they are and put your messaging, ads, etc., in front of them there. So if they're more on YouTube and you're over here on TikTok, you can probably see them on TikTok, but you'll probably want to move to YouTube because that's where most of their consumption is. So you want to meet them where they are, but you have to know who they are first in order to do that. That's the advantage of the ideal client persona. So let me see here. So we're going to run back here. We're at the top of the hour. So we are going to wrap it up here. However, the resources from this conversation will be available in the tune-up. If you have questions and answers around this content, head on over to the Insider. You also have access to the ideal client persona avatar documents, the full 2-hour replay of yesterday. That's April's AMA, the coaching session we talked about earlier. It's 2 hours of gold, no gatekeeping. And in the Insider, there's no gatekeeping. All of this is exclusive to New Home Insider. So until tomorrow night, the 17th, until the 17th, which is going to be Friday, you'll have access to a $10 off discount. It's usually $47 a month. It'll be $37 a month. Each piece of content we put in there is worth well more than what we're charging. We just want to help agents. We've seen agents that want a little extra guidance. They want to know where to go. This is your all-inclusive marketing engine. All you'll need, for the most part, to take action on what we talk about. There's no fluff. There's not theory. It's things we're actually doing. You can actually go take it and run. So head on over to the iconicagent.com/insider or scan this QR code. Price goes back up to $47 in 2 days, and we will catch you guys on the next one. Nate, you want to give the benediction real quick, sir?
Thank you for coming out. God bless. Go get the money.
Digital wave we ride, strategies we provide. No need to hide, success is on your side. Close deals like a pro, watch your profits grow. High standards we show.